Okay, here we are again. Uh, I'm going to do something completely different with Mecanim. Showed you Mecanim with a humanoid character that we ran around the world. I showed you Mecanim with a couple of AIs that followed Fleet and did various things. But Mecanim can be used for a lot of other stuff. Let me get a share screen going here. So today we'll talk about the mechanism of anything. Mecanim, as we've seen, is good for controlling animations of humanoids, but we can also use this to control very simple animations of practically every aspect of almost any object. For instance, we might want to have a sliding door that when a character approaches the door, automatically slides out of the way, kind of a Star Trek thing. And we might wish to turn on and off various lights, maybe change their colors as something approaches. And all of this is easy to do with Mecanim. We saw animations where we did these kind of things, but these were mechanical animations where we set keyframes. And what we're going to do here is allow Mecanim to control the transition between two different states. For the case of the door, open and closed, and for the case of the lights, on or off, or changing their colors. So with the door here, I'm going to create 3 panels. 2 for the wall and 1 for the door, line them up so that they're the way I want them to be. And I'm gonna put the middle one in an empty game object. I'll call it a door container. You remember when we talked about doing animations that it was important to have the animations relative to a container so that you could put the container anywhere you wanted it to be, and the animation would be relative to that container. And so I'm going to do this with the door as well. Here's my little setup. I've got my 2 green walls and my yellow door, and I'm going to animate the yellow door so that it slides out of the way when the character comes in. So I'll select the door container. I'm gonna do this relative to the door. So that's gonna be my, the object on which I animate. I'm not gonna animate the door container. I'm gonna leave it alone. Instead, I'm gonna drill down into the various properties of my door container down into the door, and I'm going to animate that. I'm going to create 2 animations, each with only a single keyframe at time 0. I'm going to delete the other one, the other default one that comes up at time 1, and I'll make an animation that has the door in its closed position, and I'll make an animation that has the door in its open position. So let's do that. Here's the door container. I'll switch to my animation. Whoops, I'll switch to my animation view. So I'll start with the door container. I'll create an animation. I'll call it a door closed animation. You can save it wherever you want. We can move it around later. And I'm going to add a property to it. I'm going to drill down into the door, into its transform, and I'm going to get its position. Now here's that second keyframe that I'm going to delete. So I'll delete that one. So we only have a single keyframe. And I can look at the position. My door is at 0, 1.50. And since this is the closed door and my door is already closed, I'm done with this. So let's make another animation, create a new clip. This one I'll call a door open. And again, I'm going to drill down into the door, to the transform, to its position, and I'll delete that second frame, delete that second frame, delete the key. And now I want to move its X position over so that it's at minus 1.5. I can play this animation to see if it worked. Yeah, it worked. The door moved. And so now I'm done with that animation. Now, in the process of making that, the door container automatically got an animator component added to it. It automatically built a controller, a door container that is over here. And let me rearrange this so that I can get it all on screen. Oops, just want one. Put that there, 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 and there, and press the A key and it zooms in. Now, as it turned out, because I made the A door closed first, it's the default state. But had I not done that and I wanted to change the default state, I can just change it by clicking and highlighting. But I want this one to be the default state. I've made these two states. I have the any state green, two animation state boxes labeled door closed and door open. I've got a default state that's the door closed. Now I need to add the parameter that's going to control this and the transitions to and from the two states that are going to be based on the value of that open parameter. The transition from closed to open should be when the trigger open is true. The transition from open to close should be when the trigger open is false. So let's do that. I'll add a parameter, a Boolean parameter. I'll call it open. I'll leave its state by default false. And now I'll make a transition from door closed, make a transition, and I'll make a transition back. And the transition from door closed to door open will be when the open is true. I've already done this, but I dragged the door into this little window so that I can now see the transition. So here I would be able to adjust the timing of things and how long the blend is between the different cases as it transitions from door closed to door open. Transition from door open to door closed is just that the case is false. So I should now be able to watch my door open and close. Now there's one other thing, of course, I have to do. I need to put a trigger on it. I need to, somewhere here, I need to add a collider to my scene. I can do it with the door. I can add a box collider to it. Let me get the scene view of my door. I want my door over here. Well, let me add a game object, an empty game object that I'll put at 0, 0, 0. And I'll add a sphere collider to it, and I'll give it a radius of 1 and I need to put it kind of right where the door is here. Let me make it a little bigger. Let me make it 1.5. So now I have a sphere collider that is a trigger. And this is what I'm going to add my script to that I'll show you in a second. This is going to be the trigger that opens and closes the door. So the script that we need is fairly simple. I'll call it door opener. It's got the usual using stuff up at the top. In the awake, I'm going to catch a cached copy of the animator. This is not necessary since we're using the angle bracket version, but I include it just for the sake of it. So that sphere collider that is trigger, the sphere collider that is trigger over here, this is when something enters that collider. The collider other, if it's the player, I'm going to set the Boolean open to be true. That'll open the door. And when I exit that trigger, if the thing that exits the trigger is the player, I'm going to set that Boolean to be false. I don't have a character in this scene. Let me see if I've got a character here. Oops. So here's a third-person controller. No, I don't want a third. I want a, yeah, it's Ethan. That means I need a camera. Let me use the dude. Let me just go to a scene that's completed here rather than futz around with making this. I have a scene here with Ethan. I'll save that scene for us. I have a scene here with Ethan. That's my cat. Thank you. Hold on, let me let the cat out. I'll be right back. Don't go away. Sorry about that. So this is basically the same setup with the same scripts. I've got the door container. It's got a door, walls. I'll talk about these lights in a minute. But so my character can approach the door. I can approach the door. As I enter that trigger, the door opens and I can move on through and I can run back and forth through the door and everything works exactly as I would want it to. So all pretty cool.